cafe?
Who's in a cafe?
So we have like a live event happening near Warren Street, Houston.
Right.
So I'm just it's lunchtime. So people are like, it's usually quieter than this, but people are eating lunch. I hope it's not too loud.
That's okay.
Oh, look, there's man of the hour, is it? Hi, Henry. Yeah,
hey, how's it going?
Good. So super excited about today's workshop. If you've had a business for a while, this is something that's just gonna blow your mind. I listened to Henry talk about this, and I'm like, this is amazing, and every single person should know about this and actually start thinking about it in their business. So I'm super happy about that. But before we get started, I think Henry would love to know what you think systems and processes is. So in the chat, if you could just kind of let us know what you think it is in the first place and how you think it's going to help your business.
Philip, I think yours is my favorite so far. Less effort, key element there. Yes, I love all of this. You guys don't even need the course. You already know what I'm going to say. You're typing it already. Love that. Systems, process, streamline, and work and automate work. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about automation as well. I'm going to make sure I do, so I'm going to write that down. Admin, sales funnels, legalities. Yes, Debs, absolutely. More done with less effort. Nice one, Phil. All the things I need to enable me to have smooth running business, loosely have to keep the admin under control. Yeah. So the admin comes up a lot with process. They go hand in hand, don't they? They really do. Standard process, recurring functions, onboarding clients. Yeah, absolutely. Process behind how logistics wise running a company. Absolutely. Having funnel. Yeah. You guys you're using all of the exact words I was going to tell you, just sometimes in different orders. So this is going to be extremely cool. I'm excited because yes, it's good. I won't jump in just yet. I'll let Halima kick it off.
I think we can get started now. Most people are here. It's super loud here, so I'm not going to talk anymore. So excited to get started. If you have any questions, write them in the chat, and then Henry will be able to either answer them while he's like teaching about processes, or leave them at the end, and I'll compile them so that you can answer them at the end. Okay? Everybody good? Excited? Woo!
I never thought I'd see a room of people excited about a systems and processes workshop. I just want to put that out on there. When Halima first asked me to run the session, because we were on a call and I was getting excited about the fact that I'd made a flow chart. And that's where this all came from. So if you like flow charts and diagrams, you're in the right place. This is going to be an invigorating half an hour for you guys. Before we crack on, I apologize. It looks like I'm in a bit of a cave. I'm in London at the moment. The weather has turned for the worst, and I'm in a terraced house. So I've got like one window next to me. So we'll deal with that. I'm not in a dark room. It is actually quite light. So you guys, you guys have all got your businesses. You've started your businesses. You are well underway with getting this stuff done. And the beautiful thing about systems and processes is that we can enable you to do more, a lot more, in the same amount of time, and make sure it's done to the same standard every time. Because that is one thing, as you grow, as you get busier, as more things start to happen, more plates need spinning, more balls need juggling, quality is something that is sometimes lost. So, to enable the fact, so that we can deliver everything properly. So what systems and processes tend to do is to keep that quality high, and it enables us to do more of this stuff in the time that we've given ourselves. So that's what I want to go through with you today. I want to explain what actually is a process, because when I joined what was the PopUp Business School, now Rebel, when I joined the Rebel Business School 7.5 years ago, one of the directors, a guy called Ashley, he's one of our directors, he kept saying the words, you need to put things in a process. You need to write down the process, because without that, there's no value. And I never really understood what that meant until about 2 months ago. So 7.5 years it's taken me to figure out how this stuff fits together and where the value is in this. And that's what I want to share with you guys today. And this is very much something that we are getting better at. It's something that it's a real-time application for us. We're growing the team. We've just recently brought 4 more people onto the team. And there are some really key elements where having a process in place, or at least something written down, is extremely helpful. So that's, I guess, the part I want to start on this is like, what even is a process? People say this stuff, they throw that word around quite a lot, but what does it actually mean? Because for me, it was quite nebulous. It was, what's the process? And the process was always some like unreachable, not like fictional thing that was just in the ether, that it's not something that I have in front of me. I don't know what a process is. And then how do I make sure it happens as well? I've still got to do the work. So what is a process? And the simplest of terms of this, a process is just writing down the thing that has to happen every single time. And that could be in a notebook, it could be in a flow chart, it could be in a spreadsheet, it doesn't matter. It just needs to be written down in a really easy step-by-step way that you and anybody else could follow. And this is something that when I was at school and in college, they used this sort of phrase quite a lot, of write it as if an alien could read it and understand it. And that's very much what these things are about. A process is designed, or is supposed to be, so that anybody could pick it up and know exactly what to do and do it to the exact quality and in the time frame that you would have done it. And that's where processes and systems really, really come into play as a business owner. Is one of the big ones for us anyway has been whilst the team has grown. And predominantly it will be through admin tasks. For example, expenses. When we're spending money and we need to work out who spent what and who I need to pay back, that needs to be a really, really solid process, because what you don't want is an employee that spent some of their own money and then can't get it back. That's not a very nice situation to be on the receiving end of, I promise you. So having these processes, it means that you're able to ensure that it happens in the right way every time. And also it actually takes quite a lot of work out of your hands, because you don't have to sit and teach it anymore, because it's written down and it's easy to follow. Obviously, you need to add your own business touch to that. You don't just want to have everything written down and become this monotonous business that nobody enjoys working in. You need to add that personality. You want to keep it you. But that's what this whole thing is about. It's about being able to scale your business, know exactly what needs to happen every time, and then enabling other people to do it with you. Because a big part of getting your business to the next level will involve people. And that will either be contractors, it might be employees. There's the Kickstart scheme going on at the moment that you guys can make use of through the DWP, the job centres. And having these processes, having this stuff written down will speed that process up. And it means that you're not recreating the wheel every single time. That's what this stuff is. That is what a process is. You do still have to do the work. That's one thing, and we've Jean, you mentioned automation. I think it was Jean in the comments that mentioned automation. And automation basically is when stuff happens automatically. You know, it's things that you don't even have to worry about anymore. It's when people buy something, they automatically get that email saying thank you, and then you automatically get the order note, and then you pack it and you send it. That, you know, that's how we can add the automation in. But before we can add any automation in, we need to know what the process is, because otherwise, how do you know what to automate? You need to be able to spot, and this is one thing that writing this stuff down, and again, just on a list of sheet of paper, just write down every single step. What's the sales process? So when somebody emails me, what do I do next? Then I book in a phone call. Then we have I send them an invoice, or, you know, whatever your thing is. Because by writing it down, that's when you actually start to notice where you can speed the process up. For example, I'm going to use us as a big example, because this is where it's so applicable to me at the moment, because this is where I'm actively doing this stuff. Our sales process, traditionally, we've got one sales guy, James. I don't know if any of you have met James, but he's the tallest man in existence. And he's also quite thin as well, so I'm unsure of his structural integrity. But anyway, so we've got Jimbo, who's our head of sales. Now, James will go and kick down the door. He's the guy that goes and makes friends. He's the guy that goes and finds the councils, the housing associations that want to buy our courses. Once he's had a certain number of conversations, and he's written this stuff down, so he knows that it's going to be an email followed by another email to chase them. Then it's going to be a phone call when they reply. Then it's going to be a full meeting, either in person or over Zoom. Then once it's sold, there's an agreement that goes in. Then there's a kickoff meeting with the project management team. Then it gets handed over from sales into how does the event happen? And can you see each of these parts have their own processes? So the sales process, the journey that they go on through the sales, is always the same. The meetings we have need to follow the same structure so that we get all the information that we need. And so on and so on and so on and so on. And the thing, and what we did is, when we initially wrote this thing down, we suddenly realized that James was traveling to opposite ends of the country, sometimes other countries, for one meeting. Like, he would travel all the way up to Newcastle from, he lives in Gloucester, like Stroud, you know, middle of nowhere. Like, he has to, he cycles just because he hasn't got a car, and he lives in the middle of nowhere. Like, he has to find his way there. And, you know, going from there to Newcastle is quite a journey. It's at least 5 hours of commuting, and he's not going to do that back again. He's going to have to stay overnight. And then suddenly you start to see the cost of this stuff going up. So when we wrote the process down, we suddenly went, okay, well, there's probably something we can solve. Why are you going to Newcastle for one meeting? That's probably something that we need to do differently. So could we do it virtually? Is it something we can do over the phone? Do we have to be there in person? Okay, if we think yes, we do, because that's part of, you know what it's like when you sit across the table from someone else, you're so much more likely to make that sale. So then we changed it. We went, okay, fine. We're only going to book in those meetings when we've got more than one. So rather than just Newcastle Council, let's talk to the housing associations. Let's talk to Newcastle Football Club's charitable arm, because they've all got one. You know, and we start to book in other stuff, and then suddenly the process gets smarter, and we're saving money rather than doing multiple trips and doing all sorts of stuff. And it just means that we're doing business better. And that's what this is really about. It is just doing business better. And what you'll find is that I need to read the chat, because I just keep talking. I will start reading the chat in a moment. Because to get to the next level with your business, to tick over past that next 1,000, past that next 10,000, past that next 100,000, whatever, we need to be better and make the system, make the business behave in a much smarter way. We chatted about this as the Rebel School. We chatted about this in 2020. So we get together every year as a whole team. Pre-pandemic, we flew everybody to Poland because everything costs not as much. It cost about the same amount to put the whole team in a 5-star hotel in Poland as it did in London. So why not? Let's take everybody out of the normal and let's go do something cool. And we had a process for booking those flights. The and what we did is we sat down and we really spoke about how do we take the business to the next point, because we're doing good stuff. We know we're running a lot of courses, sometimes too many, and we're burning ourselves out for a small team. How do we get to the next bit really, really well? And it was all part of this. It was making sure we're doing the same thing every time, making sure that we're emailing the same stakeholders in every area, making sure that we are talking to the counselors in every area, making sure that we're having phone calls with partners every single week. And it was that, putting that process in, that really made us step up the game. And the aim that we had there was, so we are just this year looking to turn over our first million in 1 year, which is exciting, which is very, very cool. It's taken us a lot of work, pain, sweat, blood, tears, punches, swear words, whatever, to get to that point. But what we decided was we weren't going to get to 1 million. And this was from like 600K, so we were sort of hovering around 600K turnover per year. We wanted to get to 1 million, but we weren't going to do it in the way that we were, because if we were going to do that, people were going to burn out, people were going to leave. It wasn't going to be an enjoyable workplace. We needed to be smarter. So that's when me, Simon, Alan, we launched the internal campaign of getting to 1 brilliant, which is 1 million brilliantly. I look back at it and it really makes me cringe because I hate it. But the way that we've been able to do that, and the pandemic has in a way helped, because it's forced us to change. We'd still be running in-person events all over the country if it wasn't for the pandemic. But because we've gone online, because we've started selling events at higher price values or mixing them together, we have turned the business from a extremely manual process to a brilliant process. And that's how we've been able to grow it and get past that next milestone. So that's what I want to help you guys do today. So we're going to start very much at the bottom of this, and I'm just going to talk about, what does this stuff look like? How do we actually write it down? What's a nice way of doing it? I've got a cool app called Lucid Chart, which I'll show you. We'll go through it. And I'll start to take you through what this stuff looks like and what kind of things we need to take into account. So the way I want you to think about this stuff, well, before I carry on, is that all good? Is everybody still with me? Everyone's enjoying it. Nobody's going, what the fuck have I signed up for? Cool. Love it. Awesome. Right. I'm just going to go through. So with so many people working from home, with interruptions, juggling home life, this becomes even more important. You're absolutely right. We've done this quite a lot internally. And I know a lot of other companies that are doing this as well, because people are working from home. Suddenly hours change. Suddenly it's not 9 to 5 anymore. And annoyingly, it goes either way. It's either 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. or some people do like 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. It really does go either end. And we have to work quite hard to make sure that the team aren't overworking. Like Halima, bless her, sometimes I'll get emails at 11 p.m. and I won't reply out of principle. Even if I'm still working, I won't reply. And having processes, having things written down makes that stuff easier to control, rather than just having this belief in the company. And that's something that we've battled with quite a while. When Simon and Alan started the business 10 years ago, we're almost a decade old now, we were literally operating based on the beliefs and the behaviors that they had. And then I learned from them, and then Jack learned from me, and so on and so on. And that's where you can either pass down exceptionally good skills, or you can teach awful skills. And I got a mixture of both from Alan and Simon. We work really hard to unlearn some of that bad behavior and implement a lot of that good behavior. And systems and processes are a way of doing that. So the way I want you to think about this stuff is, it is just a recipe. I am awful at cooking. Unless I've got a recipe in front of me, then I'm Gordon Ramsay. I swear about as much. So, and like, have any of you guys ever done any of the like HelloFresh stuff or Gusto or that stuff where you basically order a box, they send you all of the ingredients, and they send you a recipe card, and it has like 6 steps for each recipe, and that's what it is. And it goes, here's what you need, here's how long it will take you, and here's each step of the way. That is a process. That's all it is. And that's how I want you to think about this stuff. It is just a recipe. It is the recipe, the ingredients, the steps you need to take to get from where you are to that project being delivered, to that product being sent, to that sale being made. It's just a recipe. And they are step-by-step instructions. Also, this is probably not as relevant to all of you, but processes, having things written down, is what gives your business a lot of value if you're looking at selling it. And this is the angle that Ashley, our chairman, went down with me, was, one option of the future of the business is we could sell it, and we could sell it to someone who can 10x the thing overnight. We're not going to, we don't want to, but if you want to get from where you are to the business being really, really valuable to someone else, it needs to be written down, because they need to be able to pick it up, put somebody on it, and let it carry on as it was. Without that, it's hard to buy it and then stick an entrepreneur in it to like recreate and reinvent and all that kind of stuff. So if that's part of your journey, if you think that might be at the end of your journey or partway through your journey, I don't know, this is something that you must do as well. So what happens when you don't have a process in place? And this is something that, again, we've been battling with, and we still battle with. I had a call yesterday with some of the team about some of our upcoming events, because we're not getting the registrations that we need, that we're not getting up to the numbers that we want. And that is because of processes not happening. It's because of things being missed. It's because of phone calls not happening. It's because of invites not happening. And when you don't have a process in place or it doesn't work, it can have a detrimental effect on the business, because you need this stuff to work. You need this stuff to happen every time. Now, there are two main parts for this of where you would put a process. One, in the monotonous tasks that you hate doing. And that's where most of you are going to see this. It's in the admin side of things. It's going to be with tax returns. It's going to be with anything financial. If, like, most of you probably don't like spreadsheets. Actually, no, maybe some of you do. You've decided to come on a call about systems and processes. You probably do. But the side of things, Sue's like, no, keep that spreadsheet away from me. I get it. It's okay. I'll do what I can. So the monotonous task that you don't want to do. And the reason for that is because when you don't enjoy doing something, you tend not to master it. You tend not to learn it start to finish. And what happens, and I see a lot of entrepreneurs do this, is they'll come to January to submit their tax returns, and they'll forget how it works every year, because they struggle through it, come out the other end, pour a glass of wine or whatever, and go, I ain't thinking about that until next January. And like, I get it, but then you have the same pain every single year. You almost build the process for pain year on year. So having this stuff written down it's simple. It's that, then it's that, then it's that, then it's that. It makes those monotonous, awful, painful tasks actually very straightforward, because you don't have to spend the brain power trying to work it out every time. You've already done it. You just need to go through the process of taking the action. Does that make sense? So the monotonous side of business, the stuff that you don't want to do, very, very good for that. The other side of it is people. And I've mentioned this already, like when you hire people or bring new people into the business, you must have this stuff written down. And Halima will vouch, we didn't have everything written down when Halima joined. And I think I still get them now, to be fair, but for the solid first month when Halima joined, it was, where do I find that? How do I do that? I really want to get on with that, but I don't know how to do it. And then, then it was strenuous on me and Jack, because we were trying to scramble to work out how it works and then teach Halima and give her access to stuff. But actually, if we just written it down, yes, we might still go through it with Halima and make sure it's happening properly, but then it's done. And I don't have to spend an hour figuring out, actually, how does that work? I've not done that for 2 years. Like, by writing this stuff down and bringing new people in, it ensures that they're going to be able to do it. And there's nothing worse than having brilliant team members disempowered because they just don't have access to stuff. And we've seen that, like, Halima, I've seen that with you when you joined. I've seen it with Katie as well, one of our new hires as well. There's just stuff that can't get done because we've not written it down. So that bringing new people in is really good for that. And again, I've spoken about this, but it's the quality control. And literally, Helen, I don't know how she's done it. I honestly don't know. I was expecting Halima's resignation on week 1, just because we're a nightmare. So thank you for putting that to the. You want me to share my annual tax process to save the headache? The thing is, Jean, I've not written it down because I really love it. So I like figuring it out every year. But yes, I'll do what I can. I'll write that stuff down for you. I'm going to make a note of that so I actually do it. Process. There is a note-taking process, ladies and gentlemen. If you write down notes from a meeting, if you meet with other clients and the client needs to do stuff from your meeting, email them immediately. Send them the action, and better yet, put the action at the top of the email, because they won't read the whole thing. Have you ever been in a meeting, somebody sends you the notes afterwards and they go, here's a summary of the meeting we just had, even though you were just there. They always put the actions at the bottom, and I never read the synopsis because I was there. I don't need to read that, I got it. But I missed the actions. So put the actions at the top and go, right, before we start, here's everything you need to do, and here's everything I'm going to do. Here's all the notes that I've made. That will work much better for you. So like, there are mini processes that you can do, and sometimes it's behavior, sometimes it's habits that you guys can install, but teaching that, making sure the whole team does it, is very important too. So writing this stuff down is important. So I was making a point, can't remember what it is. You want me to do the tax process? I'm going to do that later. Cool. So we've got that. So we know what they are. We know when they're valuable. One thing I wish we had done as PopUp and or Rebel or both, whatever. What I wish we had done is written this stuff down earlier. And it's one of those annoying things that you don't quite know when the process is right. And actually, processes are built to be broken. A process will always adapt. It'll always change. Jean, you were talking about when you joined the call, you were talking about websites. I know you watched some of some of our videos on websites. It's changed since we made the videos. It looks a little bit different. So your processes will need to adapt. They will be a fluid thing. The process will also break when it reaches a certain amount of people. This is what I've learned. The process that we had for booking in a team meeting, for example, was very, very simple. It was, I need to book in a meeting. I've booked in a meeting. That was our process for team meetings about a year ago. Now it's, I need to book a meeting. I need to check 8 different people's calendars to see when we can book in a meeting. There isn't a time that we can book in a meeting because not everybody's free at the same time. I'm going to send an optional team meeting. Then I'm going to send out a summary. Like, can you see that as soon as you double the team size, the process you had of 2 things suddenly has to change because it doesn't work. It's broken. And that's what they're designed for. That's what they're designed for. So what I want to do is I want to put this into, I want to give you guys some real examples of this. I've got some stories of other people that have implemented processes, but also like, let's build one together just so we can see how simple this thing is to do. Because back when Ashley was telling me to do this stuff, 7.5 years ago, 7.5 years I've been doing this, my goodness. 7.5 years ago when Ashley would tell me to do this, I just never quite understood what it was. And until I saw it and until I went through it, I didn't quite understand it. So I want to do that with you guys today. So what we could either do is I could either build out a process with one of you for your business and just show you it. Or I'll just go through a random example. And I normally do things like cake because it's about lunchtime and it'll make you guys hungry. But that's just my torturous side coming out. So let's do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share. Let's use one of you guys as an example. Jean, your first square in my Zoom. So unfortunately, you are the tribute. Trial by fire. Jean, could you please explain what your business is to the room?
Well, my business is Heart and Soul People, and I help entrepreneurs and coaches and trainers 40 to 42 learn what they need to know so they can move from where they are to where they want to be. Because a lot of women at that age, and typically I work with them, women are at a crossroads and they're trying to shift to something else. And we get there together.
I love that. I love that. You've practiced that pitch. You've said that quite a few times, haven't you?
No.
Well, I know exactly what you do, who you do it for, and why you do it. So I'm there. Cool. So which part of it? So there's a few things that we could do. We could look at your sales process.
Mm-hmm.
We could look at your accounts process.
Mm-hmm.
We could look at the delivery.
Mm-hmm. It's all a work in process.
It is, and it always will be.
Yes,
Always will
because that is currently what I'm developing, is a way to deliver. But sales process is through conversation. I'm online with Facebook and social media, LinkedIn, BizFluence, MeWe. I'm on YouTube. I have a podcast. So I do a lot of conversation.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so tell you what, stay unmuted for me, Jean, because I'm going to chat to you throughout the process.
Okay.
Process, see? Oh, it's just everywhere. It's everywhere, this stuff. So can everybody see my screen before we crack on?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, this is Lucid, is it?
This is Lucid, yes. It's basically just grown up paint. You know, paint on Microsoft where you just draw with stuff and like you have the spray paint. Yeah. I used to spend hours and hours at school just coloring in the entire screen, and then that was the end of the lesson. So this is what it is. It's grown up paint, and what we can basically do, as easily as it looks, is drag it in and then start typing what we need to do. So for example, sales conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly we're adding in a line.
Mm-hmm.
And then we add in the next thing.
Right.
That simple. It's just a flow chart. And I'll tell you what, at the end of this, it's going to be the best looking flow chart you've ever seen, because every flow chart is the best looking flow chart I've ever seen. So while we start here, and obviously this is entirely up to you guys how you want to use these. I'll talk you through how I use them. Different shapes for different things. Sometimes that's an action, that is an email, blah, 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 but we can do that. So Jean, let's talk about the customer onboarding process.
Sure.
So we've identified, so basically we've done our marketing, we're pushing stuff out, we've been talking to people, we've identified somebody as a lead, a potential client. What's the first thing that we do?
We have a conversation. That's what we do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Rather, if it's through email or through Zoom, I don't go face to face. I'm housebound, so I don't go out. So It is either through email or through Zoom that I have a conversation with them. Sometimes it's on WhatsApp, sometimes it's on Telegram, but there is a way to contact me, and I also have a contact form on my website for them to use.
Okay, cool. So let's start that there then. So let's say they come through the website. So we've got contact form submission.
Yep.
The next step from there will probably be that you'll reply to them, right? You'll reach out to them.
Yes.
Excellent. So we'll add that in as well. Now, again, all of you are going to be creating these for different reasons. And some of you will be looking at this with the aim to hire the next person.
Yes.
At which point you really want to make sure, like what I've done we'll talk about this later, but just bear in mind, why are you creating this process? Is it just so you've got it written down and you can review your process? Is it because you're looking to hire somebody else? Is it just because you want to write this stuff down and it will make you feel better? Because that's also fine. So just bearing that in mind whilst you're doing this. So we've got a contact form submission. The next thing is we will engage.
Mm-hmm.
My spelling, by the way, is tragic. So we'll engage them via email, we'll reply to them, ask them how they are doing, whatever. They will come back and we'll identify them as a potential client or not.
Yes.
So then the next step is we will invite them to, let's just say a Zoom call for now.
Yes. And when I engage the lead, Henry, what I do is I qualify them.
Okay.
Because I know if they respond to the qualification, it's in the engage lead bit, right? If they respond to the qualification, I know they're a lead.
Excellent. Excellent. So what I'm doing here, can you see I've put this in a different shape?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I do here is, especially if this is for other people's benefit too, is I will add notes or add extra notes to each part of it. For example, one major part of our event process is engaging with job centres. Now, engaging the job centre is too big of an action. There's too much within that for somebody to look at it and go, yeah, I've done that, all good. There's actually like 6 or 7 different conversations to have within that. So what I sometimes do is we'll drop down extra bits to give more context. So for example, so what I've done here is we've got the contact form submission. We're engaging the lead. And then what we can do is go, and within that, we're lead qualifying. We're finding out a little bit more. We're asking them X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Z, Jean.
Well, no, I mean, they typically let me know what they do and who they are. And before they even contact me, there is this qualifier because they have to be earning up to 100,000 a year before they're really going to work with me.
Nice. I'm not in your target group, unfortunately, Jean.
A lot of people aren't, but that's great because it narrows my niche.
There we go. There we go. Look at that. Learn from Jean. Everybody learn from Jean. So cool. So what we've got here is we've got contact submission. We're engaging them and qualifying them at the same time. We've now identified them as a lead. Now, what we can do here actually is we can change this to be a question, because then there might be more than one outcome. So from this, it might be, yes, they're a client, or no, they're not, because that is also an option. So let's say no, we just send them a cake. And then these guys, we invite them to a Zoom call.
Yeah, the yes ones.
Yeah. So, sorry, you're not a client, but here's some cake. I don't mind. I mean, I'll submit that form every week if that's what you're going to do, Jim.
Well, if they're not a client, typically I refer them to someone who might be able to help them.
See, look, this is why I wanted to talk to you as well. There you go. See? Is all of this making sense so far?
Yes.
Yeah, all good. So
I do like that it's actually written down like this, because I have senior moments often.
Tell you what, so we've just worked with an organization that's helped us with some of our automation stuff and email software and all that kind of thing. They use this, and I've known about this for a while, and I've sort of done little bits on it. But we sat and chatted with them and told them how our business works from start to finish, and they just made a flowchart of our entire thing, system, business, everything. And I'd never seen it on paper before, and I went, "What a mess!" But like, it will make you look at your business a completely different way, and it will help you to fix problems. It will help you to spot this stuff. So Jean, just I'm conscious of time. What happens next after we have a Zoom call with them?
Are we doing the yes bit?
Yep.
Then they enroll into my membership site and they start the courses and workshops I have there. And that includes some socials, and I showcase their business at our socials. And there is actually a showcase group so they can put their information about their business in the group for other members.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. And then if they don't become a client,
well, that's the no's.
So even in that Zoom call, what if they
All
then
right.
go,
Again, it follows the same path. I refer them somewhere else
there we go.
if I can. And if I can't, I ask them if I can keep their information and follow up with them at another time.
Jean, you're just on fire. You're absolutely on fire, killing it. So there we go. So like, can you see that? That's end to end. That is your sales process. It's that simple. It's really, really simple. And obviously now, so what I will do here, so when we do this, when I do this internally, what I will start to do is add context to each part and add notes, make sure that everything's done in there. And one thing that we're very passionate about in Rebel is that every conversation with a client or a participant, whatever, they know that they have spoken to a Rebel person.
Oh, yes.
And there, because it's part of the brand, and you know how we engage with other people is part of our brand, and you know it's we aim for it to be, you know, open-minded, inspiring, energy, nothing, you know, nothing's impossible, that kind of thing, and we want to take those values through all of our actions. So what I would do in this, so you know, for example, here, email invite to a Zoom call, we should probably have a Zoom call in there. But I would then put a side note. These are the things that we need to find out in that call. These are the things we need to ask. And you know, this is what we must ensure is delivered throughout that call. And it just adds that layer of, you know, next level. Because step one is have a sales process. Step two is have your sales process.
Yeah.
And adding your personality, adding the reason that people are choosing to work with you into this will better this process on its own, let alone all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Cool. So looking at this, like this is it's a very, very simple sales process. You know, it's very, very easy to follow. There are shortcuts that we could take. For example, straight off the bat, we could do that and go just from what we capture in the contact form, you know, based on their salary, for example, as you were mentioning, Jean, we could straight away go, you're not one of my clients, but I will refer you to someone who is.
Yeah.
So actually, you know, you could skip out. Imagine if you do that, suddenly then you're sending half as many emails because you've already pre-qualified them.
Yep.
And so on and so on. So that's the other part of this, is that you're able to look at what you're currently doing and make it better.
Well, yes. And to be fair, when I'm conversing online, whether through Facebook or LinkedIn or anywhere where I'm actually putting out what I do and things like that, I do put my qualifiers out there. So people won't even come to me if they're not meeting those.
That's good. That's what you want. That's good marketing. That's good marketing. If 100% of the people that are coming to you are the exact people you want to work with.
And this is all a work in progress because this is all what I'm learning. And I've been doing a lot of training recently. So this is things I'm starting to get my head around. And it's all a work in process. So don't be afraid to start somewhere.
Absolutely. So thank you, Jean. Thank you for using that example. Can you see how straightforward this stuff is? And you know, like people will throw that word around, process, put it in the process, make sure you're following the process. That is what that is. It is just the recipe. It is the recipe you need to get from where you are to that thing being delivered. Especially if you're bringing in more people, even if it's contractors externally, even if they are high skilled contractors. This is a mistake I've made. And I am going to wrap up because we sort of ran over time a little bit. For example, with our courses, some of our trainers, some of our facilitators are contractors. They're not full-time employees of Rebel. And we have had challenges in the past where they've not been following the formula. They've not followed the recipe of how to run a Rebel course. And then the courses run differently. And then the outcomes are different. And then it's not achieving what we need to achieve. So even if they're high skilled, you know, even if you're bringing a software developer in, an expert in email campaigns, an accountant, you know, they need, even if they're high skilled, you must make sure that they know your process because your business works in its own way. they can come in and they can influence your process, and they could go, did you know if you did this differently, or that here's an application that makes your life easier. They will bring that value. But if it doesn't deliver your business in the way that your business operates, you need to make sure that they're following your process, because it's going to be different. And one last sort of point from me, I guess, like, you don't want to create a process to fix underperforming people. You should not have a process to solve underperforming people, because then it's not the process that's the problem. And this is something that we've learned time and time again in Rebel. You know, we've kissed a lot of frogs before finding Halima. We've had a fair few employees over time that just haven't been right for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's culture, sometimes it's values, sometimes it's ability to deliver what we need to deliver. And we spent a lot of it was a few years ago now, but we spent a lot of a year basically trying to write things into the event process to solve the problem of them underperforming. So we were adding in, like, here's where we need to have a call to see if the event's going to be in crisis or not. Then we need to do it there as well. Then we need to do it there as well. And actually, we shouldn't even be getting to a crisis point with our events. That's the point of a process. The process itself avoids an event getting to a crisis point. So just bear that in mind. You know, if stuff stops working or starts to shake and wobble a bit in your business, it's not because you haven't got a process in place. It's because the people doing it might not be right. A process should save you time. It should make the monotonous tasks easier, and it will make handing parts and actions and things in your business, it will make handing those over much, much easier for you. Cool. So I'm just double checking if I've covered everything. I absolutely have. Halima, have you put the link to Lucid Chart in the chat?
No, I'll do that now.
So I've got it here. I just want to
Okay.
make sure that we had that. So Lucid, so it's called Lucid Chart. It's how I like to operate, just because I like to have flowcharts. Flowcharts are just nice. You can do this in spreadsheets. You can do this on a whiteboard if you need to. Do it in whatever way works for you. The process is not going to stay the same forever. It will change. It will change as you learn. It will change as you grow. Something that is, I think, vital in most processes is the checklist that goes along with them. So, like, and I sort of mentioned this already with the job center part of our events. Like, you can have the process, you can have, sales email 1, sales email 2, sales call, sales meeting, SLA, service level agreement, then delivery. But in each of them, you want drop downs of checklists. So the meeting, what is the checklist for that meeting? What's the checklist for that email? What's the checklist for the SLA? Because if you don't have the checklists, you can't ensure that the action's being completely done. Again, and we've had this in the past, people can do the job center as the event process, but they're not doing the job center properly. There's all of these 7 different things that involves. So the checklists that go alongside your processes are also incredibly important. Brilliant. I'm gonna finish up. Is there anything that I haven't mentioned? Is there anything that people still need? Is there any gaps? Have you got any burning questions just before I finish? Please pop them in the chat. Like I say, you want a process for the bits of your business that are always the same. There are parts of your business, for example, delivering the product itself. If you're a creative business like Patricia, welcome Patricia, it's great to see you. Patricia is an artist. I know that Patricia is an artist, incredible artist. You can't put a process on creating a bit of art, for example, but you can put the process in the admin side of things. So it's very difficult that there are times where processes are relevant and there are times where they aren't. And if you're a creative business, or it's, you know, whilst Jean's having client meetings and doing the coaching sessions, it isn't a tick box process to follow. That's a product. That's the value that you bring. That's why you're running this business and not somebody else. So the process is for the bits that are the same every single time in your business, regardless of who it is with. The bits of your business that can't have a process are those that require your mind and the coaching, the creative bits. Awesome. Thank you for coming to hang out. I've thoroughly enjoyed this systems and processes course, which I never thought I'd. I hope you guys have.
Thank you so much, Henry. I would just love, like, before you guys get going, just tell us like one thing that you've learned from Henry today that you're gonna like give a try. Like, what is like the first step that you think I'm gonna go there and just maybe create a process for my sales area of my business, or the product creation, or social media, and so on. So we'd love to know, like, kind of like, what are you walking away thinking, I'm going to do that, so that you're not listening and then you're just kind of like not putting it into action. Because once you do put it into action, that's when it solidifies whatever you've listened to and whatever you've learned today. So I would love to know just quickly, like, what you're going to be. Okay, Lucid, or admin, marketing and accounts, Lucid Child, everything I'm doing. Very good, Dean. I love that. I have a few processes in my head. Thank you, Henry. But actually getting them down will make life easy. It will make it easier. That's why I was super excited about like Henry doing this, because it will simplify things so much. Because I started implementing as soon as he like told me about this. And what happened is I was like, well, that doesn't need to be there. Why have I added that piece to the process? Like, got rid of it. And I was like, let's simplify things, especially now that I'm running a business and I also am working full time. It's much more crucial for me to simplify it and make it straightforward. So I love that you guys are going to be taking steps. Thank you so much, Henry, for, you know, coming and sharing your knowledge with us. I think we deserve a nice little clap for coming here and sharing your time with us. All right, guys. Make sure you share on social media if you found this workshop helpful, or if you had like something that you really enjoyed or learned. Would love to see you on the other side, and we can reshare your page. Just kind of a thing that I'm trying. All right, guys.
Yes, I want to say thank you so much for.
Hi, Patricia.
Yes, thank you, because now I didn't realize that I'm not doing a checklist for every process that I do, like workshops, commissions, and every time I have to start again from zero. I just realized how much time, energy I wasted. And now I am going to go on Google Forms and I'm going to have it ready for my next commission, my next workshop. And that's such a little thing, but such an important thing that I mean, it's just wasting me so much time, you know. So thank you so much, because this is brilliant. This is what I'm going to take with you and with me. And thank you so much, because it's going to speed up everything. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
and
you
I'm
so
looking
much.
forward to your